Fleetwood Mac sort of invented an interesting dichotomy between men and women, kind of a strange personal relationship, like the ongoing personal relationships within their band. They just put it right out front.
The hidden breakup message behind Stevie Nicks' Go Your Own Way. What if I told you that one of rock's most beloved anthems was actually written as a bitter breakup letter? That behind the soaring harmonies and infectious guitar riffs of Go Your Own Way lies one of the most emotionally brutal band dynamics in music history? Today, we're diving deep into the toxic love triangle that nearly destroyed Fleetwood Mac and gave us one of their greatest hits. You can go your own way. Go your own way. Introduction. Hey music lovers, welcome back to the channel. If you're fascinated by the stories behind the songs that shaped rock history, you're in the right place. Today we're exploring how personal heartbreak became musical gold, and why the recording of Fleetwood Mac's Rumours album was basically like a soap opera played out in the studio. But first, let's set the scene. Picture this. It's 1976, and Fleetwood Mac is riding high on success. But behind the scenes, everything is falling apart. The band isn't just dealing with typical rock star problems, they're dealing with multiple relationship breakdowns happening simultaneously within the group itself. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks had been romantic partners for years before joining Fleetwood Mac in 1975. Their relationship was already rocky when they joined the band, but the pressure of sudden fame and creative differences pushed them to the breaking point. Meanwhile, the married couple in the band, John and Christine McVie, were also going through a divorce. And as if that wasn't enough drama, drummer Mick Fleetwood was dealing with his own marital issues. So imagine walking into a recording studio every day with your ex-boyfriend, watching another couple tear their marriage apart, and somehow having to create beautiful music together. That's exactly what Stevie Nicks was facing. The breakup. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks' relationship had been deteriorating for months. They were polar opposites in many ways. He was the perfectionist producer who wanted complete creative control, while she was the mystical songwriter who brought an ethereal quality to their music. The breaking point came during the recording sessions for what would become the Rumours album. Buckingham was becoming increasingly controlling, not just in their personal relationship, but also in how Stevie's songs were arranged and produced. He would rework her compositions, change her lyrics, and generally try to mold her artistic vision to fit his own. Stevie has described feeling suffocated both personally and creatively. She felt like she was losing herself in the relationship, and that her artistic voice was being diminished. The final straw came when she realized that Lindsey saw her more as an extension of himself, rather than as an equal creative partner. When their romantic relationship officially ended, they still had to work together professionally. But instead of taking a break or handling things maturely, Lindsey channeled all his anger, frustration, and hurt into songwriting. The song's creation. Go Your Own Way wasn't just any breakup song. It was Lindsey Buckingham's musical middle finger to Stevie Nicks. He wrote it in a white-hot rage, pouring all his resentment into every chord and every line. But here's where it gets really interesting, and really cruel. Buckingham didn't just write a song about their breakup. He wrote a song that painted Stevie as the villain. The lyrics suggest that she was unfaithful, that she was shacking up with someone else, and that she was the one responsible for destroying their relationship. The most cutting part? Stevie would have to sing harmonies on this song. Imagine having to stand in a recording booth and provide backing vocals to a song where your ex-boyfriend is essentially calling you out for cheating and abandoning the relationship. It's psychological warfare disguised as pop music. Stevie has said in interviews that she knew exactly what the song was about and who it was directed at. She described it as painful and unfair, especially since she felt the lyrics didn't accurately represent what actually happened in their relationship. The recording process. The recording of Go Your Own Way was tense, to put it mildly. The entire band knew what was happening. Everyone could feel the tension between Lindsey and Stevie. But they also knew they had something special on their hands musically. Producer Ken Kayla later described the sessions as walking on eggshells. Lindsey would be directing Stevie on how to sing the harmonies to a song that was essentially attacking her character. She would comply professionally, but you could see the hurt in her eyes. What makes this even more complex is that musically, their voices blended perfectly. Despite all the personal animosity, Stevie and Lindsey created some of their most beautiful harmonies during this period. It's like their voices could communicate in ways their hearts no longer could. The band members have described hearing the song for the first time and being blown away by its power, even while being uncomfortable with its personal nature. They knew it was going to be a hit, but they also knew it was going to make their already complicated band dynamics even more difficult. Stevie's response. Stevie Nicks didn't just take this musical attack lying down. While she couldn't directly respond during the Go Your Own Way recording, she channeled her own feelings about the breakup into other songs on the album. Don't Stop and Never Going Back Again became her way of processing the end of their relationship. But perhaps her most powerful response came in the form of Dreams, which, ironically, became Fleetwood Mac's only #1 hit. Dreams was Stevie's perspective on their breakup, and while it wasn't as directly confrontational as Go Your Own Way, it was her way of saying that rain washes away everything, including relationships that weren't meant to last. What's fascinating is that both songs ended up on the same album, creating this musical dialogue between two ex-lovers who were working through their pain in real time. Fans were essentially eavesdropping on one of rock music's most famous breakups. The irony. Here's the ultimate irony. Go Your Own Way became one of Fleetwood Mac's biggest hits and most beloved songs. Radio stations played it constantly. Fans sang along at concerts, and it became an anthem of independence and moving on from relationships. But very few people understood that they were singing along to what was essentially a very public character assassination. The song's upbeat tempo and catchy melody masked the bitterness and cruelty of its creation. Even more ironic? Stevie and Lindsey continued to perform this song together for decades. Night after night, tour after tour, she would stand on stage and sing harmonies to a song that portrayed her as unfaithful and heartless. It takes incredible professionalism, or maybe incredible detachment, to do that. The song became bigger than their personal drama, but the personal drama is what gave it its emotional power. Sometimes the most beautiful art comes from the ugliest circumstances. Legacy and impact. Go Your Own Way has endured because, stripped of its specific personal context, it captures something universal about the end of relationships. The feeling of frustration, the desire for independence, the anger at being left behind. These are emotions everyone can relate to. But knowing the backstory adds layers of complexity to the song. It becomes a study in how personal pain can be transformed into artistic expression, and how sometimes the most collaborative art comes from the most fractured relationships. The song also represents a turning point for Fleetwood Mac. Instead of letting their personal dramas destroy the band, they used them as fuel for their creativity. The Rumours album, born out of multiple relationship breakdowns, became one of the best-selling albums of all time. Stevie and Lindsey's ability to continue working together professionally, despite their personal animosity, set a template for how bands could survive internal conflicts. Their story shows that sometimes the best art comes from the worst circumstances. Conclusion. So the next time you hear Go Your Own Way on the radio, remember that you're not just listening to a catchy rock song. You're listening to one side of a very personal, very painful conversation between two people who loved each other, and then had to figure out how to work together professionally after that love turned bitter. The hidden message behind Go Your Own Way isn't just about going your own way. It's about how personal pain can be transformed into something beautiful, how professional relationships can survive personal destruction, and how sometimes the most enduring art comes from the most temporary emotions. What do you think? Does knowing the backstory change how you hear the song? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed diving deep into the stories behind classic rock songs, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've got plenty more musical mysteries to uncover. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the best songs come from the worst breakups.